Those of you who know me and know me well will find this hilarious that I actually made objectives for today because I'm the absolute worst objective writer on the planet, and I'm so thankful that our fearless leader has scheduled out a half an hour at the end of the day, or maybe more, for objective writing, but I thought it would be fun to start this off with some objectives so that you have some idea what I'm going to talk about for the next, however long. Okay, so you will be able to explain and identify the pros and cons to flipping a classroom. There are both. I'm not going to say that my way is the best way by any means. You'll be able to create and share videos using a variety of technology. I think I'm going to show you 4 different ways to create a video. Don't hold me to that, but that's my plan. Perform a few other handy tricks and incorporate some interactive websites into the classroom. So I'm going to start off with a handy trick because I think it will be something that some of you will appreciate. I talked about it in an IPLC meeting, and some people seemed very interested in seeing that. So here's what we're going to do. Go into Power Teacher, and you select a class, any class. And then you're going to reduce the size of your screen, and you're going to open an Excel spreadsheet. All I did was click on it. And then go back to your Power Teacher and just left click and drag all the names. And then simply drag it over to your Excel sheet. This is really useful when you want to record your rubrics. And now you can see that I'm going to put names, and then you can do the name of your performance task or whatever it is, and then whatever they got on the rubric. And then you can just do all of your classes that way and add them to a separate sheet. So that's just a handy way so you don't have to sit there and type all the names in. Okay, so there's your little tech trick number 1. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the pros and cons of the flipped classroom. I started flipping my classroom in 2012. I had been talking with another math teacher who said she'd been doing it, and I was interested in hearing more. So I stole my daughter's iPad, and I sat up in my room, and I opened an app called, I think I started with EduCreations. I think it was free, because I don't think I would have paid for it. And I started making videos. And of course, my students despised the idea because it was different. And I found that once I got good at it, they started to enjoy it more. And what I was finding in my classroom is when I would have 25 to 29 students, about a third of my students would be right there with me, following right along, nodding their head, paying attention, taking notes, solving the problems as I put them up. I would have a third who would finish the problem before I even finished writing it down. They would have already solved it and wanted to know more and wanted to go more in depth. And then I would have another third who hadn't even written the date on their paper yet. And I struggled with how to keep them all engaged and make sure they were all learning something and also meeting their full potential learning-wise. So I found that by making a video, they can go at their own pace. The students who really get it can fly through my video. They can fast forward through the examples if they know what they're doing, and then proceed to try other problems online. Or sometimes I'll have a worksheet accompanying it that they can try the problems. Your middle level students really benefit from this because they are the students who, when you're putting notes on the board, they're frantically, because they want to please you and they want to be successful, they are frantically writing to keep up with you. They're frantically trying to process what you're saying. They're solving the problems. They're usually making some sort of sign error or computational error because they're working so hard to keep up with your pace. They are the students who I think benefit the most from the flipped classroom because now, because they want to do so well, and maybe their ability isn't quite up to the level that their motivation is, they can pause the video, write the problem down, take their time to solve it without having a kid next to them shouting out the answer and the other kid next to them playing on their phone. They can do it in their own space, in their own time, and then listen to you explain it and see what they did right, what they did wrong. They are really the top-notch benefactors, if you will. I'm not sure that's the right word, but they benefit the most from this. The students who are low performing but motivated can also find the flipped classroom very helpful, because same as the mid-level kid, they want to do well, but their attention span or writing skills or whatever it is that's held them back up until now is going to be eliminated with the flipped classroom, because now they can, again, pause, rewind, go at their own pace, and really um, pace it to their, don't mind all the children's voices in the background, they can pace it to their own liking and what works for them. And if they want to pause and get up and go play a video game for 15 minutes, the students who it does not benefit are usually your low-level, unmotivated, not willing to take ownership of their learning students. And I know we have a few of those, but basically if you don't watch the video, you're not going to understand what's going on in class the next day. And so a lot of the questions I get are, well, what do you do if they don't watch the video? Well, my answer is, ideally, when they come into class, the students who watched the video and took good notes and really understood everything are the students who get to try some challenging problems and, really feel like they're getting somewhere. And then the students who were pretty much on track with the video and followed me along pretty well, they get to do some problems on their own and ask questions when they need it, but at a normal pace. They're not being pushed too fast, but they're not bored. And then the students who either didn't watch the video or who watched it and were lost get more individualized attention. So I reteach it, I answer their questions, they get to ask more questions. So a lot of the drawbacks that I've heard, a lot of the complaints are, my child doesn't get to ask a question when he doesn't understand something right then and there. And my answer to that is, write the question in your notebook as you're taking notes and come in the next day and ask the teacher. Or you're sitting on your computer anyway, send me an email or comment on my YouTube video that there was something you didn't understand. And then if your peers are watching the video at the same time or after, they can see your question and they might have the same question or they might have the answer to your question. So it allows for some peer feedback, and it allows for a student to ask a question to themselves by writing it in their notebooks, and then maybe when they're done, going and finding the answer to their question on their own. Again, student ownership. Another complaint I get is, my kid can't learn from a video. And to that, my response is, nobody's asking anybody to learn from a video. I'm asking them to take notes, be presented with the information, write the information down, and then come in ready to apply it. And if you can't because you didn't learn from the video, that's why I'm there, to help you, to teach it the old-fashioned way, if you will. Some of the other complaints were that they were too long. I definitely have to keep them under 20 minutes, no question. My AP Calc ones can go 17 or 20 minutes because there's a lot of information there. But if I do a video for Algebra 1 or Algebra 2, it's 5 to 10 minutes max. I give them the information that they need, show them how to do 1 or 2 problems, and then they do a few problems on their own and come into class ready to practice. So those are a lot of the cons I've seen. A lot of students have said that they really enjoy this, but they have to buy into it and they have to take ownership. So just here's some stats for you. 2 years ago, 73% recognized the term, and now it's up to 96%. When I got hired, we won't go into that story, but I talked about the flipped classroom, and Nick was a little bit hesitant because he'd only ever seen it done using things like Khan Academy or other people's instructional videos, and that's fine. There's a lot of people who flip doing that. Personally, I think that students appreciate it more and are more in tune if it's your voice and your words explaining it to them. So once I told him I did that, then he was a little more open to the idea. I would be part of this 96%. I do recommend it. And again, I'm going to show you how it could be useful in every classroom. Not necessarily just young teachers. Like I said, I was 11 years in when I started doing it. 9 out of 10 have noticed a positive change. I'm absolutely in that ballpark. And I don't know about all this. I don't know about improved grades or formative assessments so much. I mean, I certainly think my students are getting it better than they were before, but it's hard to say, because I can disseminate a lot of information in a 15-minute video, and then we can practice it for 2 whole class days, where it would normally take me a period and a half to actually get through the information. So then 93% started as their own initiative, and there are some high schools. There's one in Michigan. I believe, that is entirely flipped. So when you go to work there, you're doing a flipped classroom. And I'm not saying that I think that's right by any means, but it's just interesting that it's out there. So there's your little tidbit on the pros and the cons and how I got started and all that.